can you have confidence in your ability if you don't have the skill level to match it? It doesn't make any sense, right? So I think I started 7th level like late 2017, almost 2018, and I think you're one of the first 100 clients of ours. How the heck did you even hear about stuff?
I'm stalking you, Coach. You don't know this yet, but I got a private eye on that.
When you're first knocking on the door, what type of tonality are you typically using and why?
Confused old man.
Why are you using the confused tone?
It creates curiosity. You're not going to hear not interested if they're curious.
Yeah, if you trigger, like, it's a pattern interrupt, right?
If they follow you physically, they'll follow you mentally.
So that was one of the first things that I learned. When did you start trying to figure it out, like, hey, this kind of sucks. I need to gain more skill.
To be real,
All right, Jeremy Miner here. Welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. Today, we wanted to interview the man, the myth, the legend. He's one of our clients, one of our first clients, Joseph Roberry. Roberry, how are you, man?
so good.
You're here in the office today. You came in the office today. We even got you a 7th level hat, man.
That's
All right,
right.
so walk us back. So I just kind of wanted to interview you. I mean, you're known as probably one of the top, 5 to probably top 5 solar salespeople in the country. You sell solar. How long have you actually been in the solar ball game?
Gosh, literally was in the first door-to-door office 2011, before there was a door-to-door pitch created, actually.
Okay, so you got into solar in 2011, and they didn't even really have a door-to-door program. What company did you? What did you?
It was Vivint. It was Vivint was going to do door-to-door solar for the first time. It was in Pine Brook, New Jersey, and everybody at that moment was just going to Vivint alarm customers, and that's how they were getting deals. By the time we got there, they were all taken up. It's like, we got to come up with an approach, man. We don't know what the hell.
Okay, so you guys are like, hey, you're hired to sell solar, but nobody even had a script. Nobody even knew how to sell solar.
No, they were hogging all the alarm leads. We're like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Oh gosh, that could be trouble. Okay, so walk us through. I want to give everybody kind of the background of you. I mean, you do really well. I won't give out specific numbers, but you definitely, imagine a top 5 salesperson in the country in one industry, and in solar, you can earn a lot of money if you know what you're doing. So
14 last week in California, Coach. I knock, I set, I close. I think that needs to be said.
You knocked, you set, and you closed 14 deals. And
Yes.
what commission do you get paid on each deal?
Average a little over 13 grand that trip.
13 grand a deal. So I don't know what is it normally you get paid, like 7, 8 grand a deal or something?
When I hired you, I was making $165 a kilowatt.
Okay.
But now it's retarded.
Now the numbers are a little bit higher.
That makes no sense.
So let's say if you have 14 deals, your cancellation rate's around 10%. So probably at least 12 of those are going to go, and probably 13.
And I have gangster installers that he literally hit me up yesterday. He got 5 of them on the schedule.
12 times 13,000. That's about 156. Not bad there. Not bad for 1 week there.
I'm like, that's insane.
That's insane. Hey, congratulations. Okay, but it wasn't always that way.
Oh gosh.
2000, because this is what I want to really talk about, because this is for everybody watching me on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, or listening in here. Maybe you're on iTunes or Spotify or something, you're listening to it. But I think a lot of people don't realize, because the biggest question the salespeople ask me, like anytime I do an event, or anytime I do a keynote for a company, or just any type of an event I get paid to speak at, the number one question, well, I'm going to ask you, what do you think the number one question salespeople ask me is? Just randomly. Just take a guess.
The number one question that you get asked, they probably want to know if it's. They probably want to know if it would work for me or something. What is it?
It's not even that. They ask me, they're like, how do I think by this point everybody knows that it works, right? We have like 65,000 clients. We got 20-some thousand testimonials. And that's not even, one client could be one company.
How would it work for me? How would it work for my situation?
One company that's a client could have 20,000 salespeople that we're training. So I don't know how many people we're training at this point. It could be over 1 million. I don't even know. So they asked me, Jeremy, how do I raise my confidence as a salesperson? That is the number one question salespeople ask, especially last year. How do I gain more confidence? And I'm like, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm like, well, that's simple. If you want to gain more confidence, you have to raise your skill level, because your confidence will always be at the level of skill you have. How can you have confidence in your ability if you don't have the skill level to match it? It doesn't make any sense, right? Like I can be confident that I'm a great NFL football player, but not have the skill level to really show up. So if I go out in the field and some 300-pound defensive lineman squashes me, my confidence just went down here because that's where my skill level is. I shouldn't be out on the field, right? It doesn't make sense.
You can listen to Tony Robbins in the car, and now you're feeling confident. But
yeah, you're feeling confident, and let's say you're in door-to-door sales, and then you guys start knocking on doors. You get rejection after rejection after rejection. About an hour in, where did your confidence level go? Right back down to where your skill level is, right? So it doesn't matter if you sell business to consumer, business to business, door-to-door, business to government. Your confidence level will always be to the level of what your skill is. So if you want to raise your confidence, you have to acquire a higher level of skill. It's like asking a neurosurgeon, like, a neurosurgeon says, well, how do I gain more confidence? Well, you probably want to learn how to do better at your brain surgery, because that's going to give you more confidence. Like, how confident would a brain surgeon be if somehow he lied through medical school and somehow, I don't know if you can do this, like tricked everybody to pass him, and he walks in for his first brain surgery and his skill level's here? Well, his confidence level is going to be here. It's the same thing in sales. So you want to gain confidence, you got to gain far more skill, more sales better. And that's what I want to talk to you about how you gain that skill level, because 2011, you worked for this company, didn't even have a script. They were trying to figure it out. Walk us through what happened to you that first year.
80% of everything I sold and the company canceled. So we were throwing a bunch of mud up. We were working hard, signing up a lot of people, but nothing really stuck. Nobody really even knew the process.
Okay, so you just kind of went there, tried to do a one-call close real quick, and
it was a 3-page piece of paper. There was 3 pages. It was paper. On the bottom, I didn't know how to sell, so we would sell on the site survey. In the bottom, it said you can cancel anytime up until installation. So we would use the shit out of that. Here, just sign here, piece of paper, done. Hit it and quit it. The alarms didn't help.
Hit it and quit it. It gets installed 2 or 3 months later, and 8 out of 10 doesn't get installed. So yeah. When did you start trying to figure it out? Like, hey, this kind of sucks. I need to gain more skill. Like I need to learn much better questions. I need to learn how to use my tonality to disarm them. I need to learn how to prevent objections. Like, what changed where you started to be like, hey, I need to get some skill level here?
To be real, I didn't even take sales that serious. I liked it. I liked the freedom. I liked the lifestyle. And then I got promoted, not because of any skill, but just the industry itself was growing. And then having that thought of, okay, I'm a manager tomorrow morning. I got to train these guys. Like, right? Like that's when shit got real for me. Was like, I'm now responsible for other people, and I got to train.
So you're like, I got to train. I better learn how to do this.
Yeah. There's a meeting tomorrow. I got 20 guys in there. Like,
that could be trouble. Okay, so walk us through. So, because I think I started 7th level like late 2017, almost 2018. And I think you're one of the first 100 clients of ours. How the heck did you even hear about stuff?
I'm stalking you, Coach. You don't know this yet, but I got a private eye on that. You popped up on Facebook, I believe. And then Zero Hesitation called. You had like weekly calls, like at the moment, something like that.
Yeah, when we first started, yeah. So we had like weekly training calls. So you started, and I think you were already doing well. I think you were already, making, I don't know what you were making, 15 grand a month or 20 grand a month, but I think you were working a lot of hours to do that.
Literally, like I had an alarm clock on my phone, 9 a.m. go off. I have to leave the door, and I wouldn't get home till 9, 10 o'clock.
So you leave for the office at 9 a.m. You're probably on the doors, by 10:30, 11?
Oh, 10.
10, and then you would knock till 9. And it's like 5 days a week, 6 days a week? 6 days a week. So how many years did you do that for?
Oh gosh, I did that for a couple years, 2 years, 3 years. So it's good I was making money, but no life. It literally cost me some definitely probably cost you some relationships. All right, so
What started to change for you, like a couple, even a year in, 2 years? Like, what did you start to notice that was changing with your prospects?
The first thing I noticed was the feel on the doorstep, to the point where the homeowners would literally comment on it. I would receive compliments about how no pressure and the setting and the customer initiating the next steps. Like when there's, like, I mean, I'm from Idaho. I was even homeschooled for 2 years. Like when you have like a rocket scientist initiating the next steps, like, so what do we do from here? What's the next step? I'm just like, okay, like you got to be kidding me. So the first thing was just the feel from the very beginning on the doorstep. I love the interaction back and forth, the two-way dialogue. Yeah. I felt like at the time.
So it wasn't so adversarial. It wasn't like a lot of people from your industry and the door-to-door industry that come to us, or companies that come to us, is they always say like, well, we're making some sales. We just have to work really, really hard, play the numbers game. And they feel like it's like adversarial, right? They feel like they're in a boxing match every day, like, punching, throwing out, the prospect throws out objections, you try to refute them. It's like back and forth, and you make some sales here and there. Some of them cancel, but at the end of the day, you just feel like, from what we hear, like emotionally drained.
Exactly. Guilty. Viewing the homeowners as going out there with the dukes up.
Yeah, so now you've learned how to make it more collaborative, like you working with the prospect to help them find and solve problems they didn't realize they had. Because in your industry, and this is really the same in any industry, it's not like the prospect's sitting around like, oh, I'm writing down all my problems, and I'm writing down like all these things that are wrong and challenges that we're having. I mean, they might know a problem that they have, like, oh, I've noticed the rates have gone up, but it's not like they just sat around thinking about it on Sunday with an Excel spreadsheet, going through like how with the percentage of rate hikes from their power company over the the last year, 2 years, 3 years. It's, if you sold life insurance, it's not like they sit down like, well, how much am I going to need for the mortgage and the credit cards and the cars if I pass away in 6 months compared to 1 year, compared to 4 years, they're not just sitting around thinking those things. So it's up to us as the salespeople to ask the right questions, especially with the right tone, because we got to get them to let their guard down, where they start to internalize those things and start to question their way of thinking of and why they've allowed these newfound problems to even happen. It's like a new revelation happened to them. What was your experience?
Yeah, the tone gets there first. You never want to move faster than the way that you move. You're cool, calm, collected. The certainty, the dialogue, the feel. Able to create a space for the homeowner to feel comfortable, open up, see things from a different point of view, but their own.
Yeah, 100%. Now, what did you notice about? Let's talk about a few things here. So, because you're still in the inner circle, you still learn like advanced tonality and stuff, and we've really placed a heavy emphasis on that. I'd say the last like 24 months for sure. Yeah. So, what type of because you mainly do door-to-door solar, right? Not really virtual. Yeah. So, like when you're first knocking on the door, what type of tonality are you typically using and why?
Confused the old man.
Why are you using the confused tone? Because a lot of people, if I said that, sometimes there's certain questions you got to ask them confused. They're like, you can't be confused. You got to show them that you're in control and the expert. And I'm like, well, I don't mean when you go through the product or service or whatever you sell, like, oh, I don't know how this works, like you're an idiot. I don't mean that. But why would we want to use a confused tone, especially in that context when you're first knocking on a door? You're basically cold calling.
It creates curiosity. You're not going to hear not interested if they're curious.
Yeah, if you trigger, like, it's a pattern interrupt, right? So that was one of the first things that I learned in your industry, when I sold door-to-door home security systems, my first job, because they would, this was back like in summer of 2000, 2001. I don't even remember this. These are door-to-door programs out of Utah where I was going to school, and nobody, everybody just kind of, you were supposed to dress up. It took us a year to figure out, like, oh, we shouldn't look like salespeople. Like, we should maybe wear like khaki shorts and just regular tennis shoes. I even wore the New Balance, like white old grandpa shoes. And sometimes you wear a polo with maybe the company logo, the badge I'd put in my pocket, because everybody that knocks on doors has the badge with the licensing. So you just like, oh, salesperson. They just immediately identify you as, oh, salesperson trying to sell me something.
In that bucket.
Yeah, so I like went and got a construction vest. I think I had an orange one and a lime green one. I think you did that. I put a tape measure on my side, and I got like this metal. It's like almost like a metal box. It was like a meter reader that would carry around, like a metal clipboard, right? So it was this thick because I'd have all those contracts in there, people buying and stuff, agreements. And I knock on the door. Literally, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I thought you were like reading my meter," or "I thought you were, one of the construction guys down on the street I saw." Like literally, they didn't think I was a salesperson when I first knocked on the door, and that's what I wanted, because I wanted to interrupt that pattern. Because if you look like all that are salespeople, if you ask the same questions that all that are salespeople, if most people in the door industry, when they knock on the door, "Hey, are you guys the homeowners? Hey, great. Hey, the reason why I'm out here today is we're in the neighborhood," and it's like the same thing if you sell pest control, alarms, solar, lawn care, HVAC, vacuum cleaners. I mean, I could go energy, I could go on and on and on. So they don't even hear what you're saying. They're just like, "Oh, not interested. Oh, I'm too busy. Can you come back later?" "Sure, when can I come back?" And then when they come back, they don't answer the door. They you hide behind the curtains.
It's hilarious. I have like a lean mean team, and we'll have like a little training meeting, and it's hilarious. They come to the meeting because like they don't dress like that at home. I'm like, that's a good one. Like the new one is this DeWalt yellow. It's huge, this construction thing that you hold, and then the hat backwards, the Oakley sunglasses, the leather gloves on the hip. This other guy just got like janitor key rings, which is just walking around with just so many keys. It's freaking hilarious.
I love that. Yeah, so you don't look like a salesperson. So when you knock on the door, they come, and I'd be to the side about 6-7 feet away, and I'd be like, for alarms, I'd be looking at the yard where we're gonna put the sign. But if I sold solar or like roofing, I'd probably be looking at the roof. If I sold pest control, I'd probably be looking at the spider webs or maybe the ant mounds out in the yard. It depends on what state I'm in. And I'd come to the door, and they'd be like, "Yeah," and I'd be like, "Yeah, are you guys the?" I'd kind of time it when I could kind of see them out of a corner of my eye. I'd be like, "Yeah, are you guys the property owners here?" Like it was kind of like I'm confused and it's serious. And they'd be like, "Yeah, we're the property owners. What's going on?" Right there, that right there is an example of a pattern interrupt. I immediately triggered engagement and curiosity, where now they're listening to everything I'm saying. They're not reacting because you sound like everybody else. When you started learning that, what started changing?
They literally open the door and come out. If they follow you physically, they'll follow you mentally. And if you get them out of the house just at the very beginning, then the chances of you setting an appointment go up 50% if you get them out of the house.
For sure, 100%. Now, what are some other things like tonality that we've trained you in, like the advanced inner circle, that's helped you get the prospects to let their guard down? Because I know when you first started, I think you had an issue with like, hey, a lot of them just, the guard's up. They're always surface level. Like I ask questions that give me vague, generalized surface level answers. So what did you really learn from NABQ that really got them to let their guard down?
The tone, and then how fast I speak. Yeah. That determines how the interaction occurs to them.
Yeah. And that's the example, like verbal pacing. Give us an example of something like that.
Yeah, like so when they're talking, like head tilted, like yeah, okay, okay, hold on. How did you mean? And then when you're doing verbal pacing, like hold on, okay, wait, and then mirroring. You can interject so they're not going on tangents as well. But when you have the head tilted, the sincerity, like, hold on, okay, yeah.
Oh, that happened? How long ago did that happen? Oh, okay. So yeah, it's verbal cues that bridge from question to question, right? So that's one thing that you're talking about here. If you guys see me, if you see us on YouTube, YouTube, you'll see my Vibe board behind me. Love Vibe board. We're an official partner with Vibe board here now. So if you guys ever want to. Awesome. We get all these Vibe boards around here, but if you ever want something where you want to write something, it's like a whiteboard, but it saves everything. Like when you have the whiteboards, you write something really important, then you got to erase it to write something else on there. Well, Vibe board, it freaking saves everything. So like for the last 2 years, I've got
no way.
Thousands of trainings on it.
We need Vanna White. I need that stroll down the street.
Street, right? So I might be doing like a Facebook Live, and I'm like, you know what? I think I trained on this subject about 8 months ago. I just go down 8 months ago. Oh yeah, it's right there. and then I'll modify it a little bit for a couple minutes. I'll change it around a little bit, and bam, new training in about 2 minutes rather than me writing a new one out on a freaking whiteboard.
Gosh.
It's crazy. Anyways,
I need a portable one.
No, I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, I took this to Vegas when we shot some of the solar content. This was one of them that I had shipped up there. We got a big one in the conference room. We have another one that we just ordered too. I love Whiteboard. But anyway, so we're verbal cues. So like we're going to bridge from question to question. Verbal cues are just sounds out of your mouth, like now, you're not going to say that every 2 seconds. I'm kind of exaggerating here. But like every 8 to 12 seconds while they're talking, you're like, oh, really? Interesting. Right. Okay. See, those are just examples of verbal cues. Now, like I said, you're not going to do that every 2 seconds. That'd be weird. But about every 8 to 12 seconds in that conversation. But mainly I want to use verbal cues because I want to bridge from question to question where it sounds natural. Because most salespeople, I think in your industry or B2B, B2C, it doesn't really matter. They'll ask a question, the prospect will answer, and then they'll sit back and they'll be like, okay, cool, gotcha. Let me ask you, John, I'm curious. And they'll ask some questions, and I'm just like, you sound like a scripted robot, right? It doesn't sound like a normal conversation, but I'm like, and tell me a little bit about your bill. I know a lot of the year they're pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Oh, they've been making you pay that much? Yeah, if you take a look, see how I'm just transitioning using these little verbal cues to bridge. And how long have they been making you pay that much? Oh, really? And then what happened at that point? But how high did your bill go at that point? So I'm just using these first little words as bridge. Like I'm bridging from question to question where it sounds natural, where it feels like to the prospect they're in a natural conversation with their best friend, their parents, their grandparents. So the trust is there, so the guard stays down. When you started learning that, what happened?
Oh, it's huge, because then also your tone. I see this a lot of the times. They might be saying the right thing, but the tone. So no matter what the customer says, if they try to rush you, you don't rush. You keep your tone chill, neutral. You're not taking offense, because that's the thing that I see when they start to learn it is you can tell that they got butthurt by something the customer says. And I'm like, dude, like I know you said the right words, but all I heard was like, you hate this guy, like you literally. So that'll get communicated.
Listen to what they mean, not just what they say. Yeah. Right? Because if you said, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And they're like, yeah. Well, a lot of salespeople would be like, oh, well, that's great. Let me show you what to do. But see, I heard what they mean, not just what they said. I hear uncertainty. I hear that they're hesitating. So I'm like, you seemed a bit hesitant when I asked you that. What's behind that? Well, Jeremy, I'm just not understanding. And bam, now I know a concern because I'm listening to what he or she means, not just what they're saying. Those are two very different things. And that's where you learn how to read tonality, 100%.
And then when they record, one thing that helped me a ton is like when I record it, because just unaware of myself, but when I could record it and then have you listen to it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could help see all my blind spots. I was just like,
yeah, no, I love it because we have like 30, we have 34, 35, 36 account managers now on our team, and they talk to salespeople and companies all day that respond to our ads. They're looking for sales training. And there'll be some people that'll be like, well, I think I just want access to your virtual training portal because I can just role play with some reps here. I can just role play with my spouse. She'll listen to me. And our reps are like, oh, hold on. How are you going to role play with your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend when they don't understand NBQ themselves? How are they going to show you what you're doing well and what you need to change if they don't even know how to do that themselves? And they're like, oh, I never thought about that. Well, yeah, that's typically why companies and individuals come to us, is because they want to learn the nuances. They want to be able to role play. They want to be able to have their calls reviewed by our certified trainers who actually have mastered an NBQ and can actually tell them for sure, this is what you're doing really, really well. This is what you've got to tweak, or this is why you triggered that objection. Because if you're having somebody does that who's not qualified to do that themselves, it's like you're trying to learn brain surgery from like a homeless person. Probably not going to work out.
We're talking about the way that we communicate. and there's a way that I'm communicating. You don't think about how you communicate, so you're not conscious of it. It wasn't until I sent you a recording, you're like, pause right there. You see how you assumed what they meant? I'm like, oh my gosh. But
That's what lost the deal.
yeah, but that was in my blind spot. But one, listen to you, not in my blind spot. Truth sets you free.
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of it is like when you talked about like, I was slowing down, I was pacing out the question. That's so important because a lot of salespeople, look, the two biggest reasons why, when you ask questions, the two biggest reasons that your prospects give you vague, generalized, surface level answers. Number one is because you sound scripted. Okay, this is me talking to everybody. You sound scripted, so you don't understand how to use verbal cues to bridge from question to question. So you sound scripted. You sound like a salesperson. So the guard automatically comes up in the prospect survival part of the brain. That's just how we're wired. And number two, you ask the questions so fast that you give them no time to internalize what you're asking. And when you give a prospect no time to internalize what you're asking, they're going to give you a knee-jerk reaction. It's like walking into like a furniture store or car dealership and the salesperson says, "Hey, welcome to the store. How can I help you today?" "Just looking." That's instantly what you're going to get 9 out of 10 times. "Oh, we're just looking." You're asking a knee-jerk question too fast, they're going to give you a knee-jerk answer. But if I go in there, I'm like, "Hey, welcome into the store today. Are you guys out just kind of looking around today?" Yeah. Okay. And do you know what you're possibly looking for? And see, I'm pacing that out. What I also did there is I gave them the objection. "Are you guys just out kind of looking around today?" So now, yeah. Okay. And do you know what you're possibly looking for? Like, I'm confused. Okay. There's a whole lot to that.
Yeah, it's so good. It comes across genuine.
Yeah. It comes across like they can trust you, right? Okay, so what else did you learn besides verbal cues, verbal pauses, verbal pacing? What else did you learn?
Oh, the right questions, when to ask the right questions, just a structure, how to probe,
Let's talk about probing. Yeah, we call that, I mean, that's really the thing. Let's talk about precision probing. We call that NEPQ. So that's NEPQ.
Yeah, like when they're like, "Do you know how much they raised your bill last year?" "Oh, it went up this." "What type of agreement do you have allows them to do that?"
Oh, so they raised it to that? So what type of an agreement do you have with Nevada Energy that gives them permission just to raise the rate to whatever they want to?
"Are you okay with that?" "No." "What is it about that you don't?" "No, what is it about that you're not okay with? Has that had an impact on you? What way? How does that affect you when that happens?"
Yeah, well, even the same thing, even like, yeah, I mean, "Oh, how long have they been making you pay that much?" Even those words, making you pay, like for your industry, like how long have they been making you pay that much? I lower my tone into concern tone, like I'm serious. How long have they been making you pay that much? It's all in the tone, because I'm like, how long have you had to pay that? Completely different.
Like $300 is like, oh.
They're making you pay $300? Oh, so they're like double billing you. What do you mean? Well, double billing you because, you get charged for the usage, and then they charge it, they have to charge it to actually deliver the power to you, right? So it's like you buying a pair of Nikes on Amazon and the sticker says $100, and then Amazon charges you an extra $100 to deliver it. So now the shoes are $200. Are you going to keep buying shoes from Amazon?
Like you bought like your electric bill was $300 and you got $150 worth of electricity.
Yeah. I like that, man. Well, hey, any I know you've got a meeting here. Any last words of advice you would give to, let's say a salesperson that's just barely into the ball game about how to develop their skill level, or even a vet who they might already be doing well. Maybe they're in the top 10% of their company. Maybe they're making a 6-figure income. Any advice you'd give to either of those two types of people?
The advice I would be is invest in yourself. Like, do your future self a favor and get the freaking skills. Like, just outside of sales, like life in general will go up.
Well, your confidence level will always be to the level of your skill. So if you want to raise your confidence, you have to raise your skill level. The skill level confidence will only match your skill level.
You shouldn't be worried about what's going to happen on a doorstep. You should be excited.
Yeah.
And then what is it? I feel like a lot of times we know what we need to do, we just don't do it. And so like once you do, it's like one of my favorite quotes is characters is the ability to carry out a resolution after the mood in which you made it and left you. And then my next favorite is the tolerance of pain is genius. I think that one's cool too. But if they just get the skill sets, then they'll have the confidence. And what's cool is whether you're never out of bounds. Whether you're on the doorstep or home, you're never out of bounds. The communication, there's no assumptions that are being made. Like, that's what's cool.
Yeah, it's like I always said, it's like Steph Curry, NBA Hall of Famer, basically. If he said that basketball was a numbers game, just shoot as many times as you can, eventually you'll hit one, he would have never made varsity basketball in high school. But Steph knew it wasn't a numbers game, it was a skills game. That's why he practices on his technique every day. He practices on his elbow, line up to the basket. He practices on his wrist movements. He practices on his hips, his leg movements. And he shoots hundreds of threes every day. And that's why he gets paid millions of dollars. That's why he's in the top.
I had a buddy, he hadn't seen me for a while, and he's like, how many doors, whatever, for you to get appointment? I'm like, I talked to 5 people, like at least 3. He's like, no way, I don't believe you. And he comes out and he sees, he's like, holy smokes. And now he's like, can't get enough of the good old NEPQ. Anyway.
He's like, oh, this stuff actually works. Hey, instead of knocking 100 doors to get 3 appointments, now you can knock 5 or 6 and get 3 appointments. It makes it a lot more funner, and you don't have to work as much.
Like all these companies, they don't have sales training, but they're listening to books, they're listening to Tony Robbins. But at the end of the day, if it's taking them 100 doors to get one deal, it's still taking them 100 doors to get one deal. And then they got the big hurrah, hurrah.
Well, yeah, it's just the numbers game. I mean, Tony Robbins is great, but for personal development, that's your personal development. I love that. I mean, I'm going to one of his events here in December. I think I paid like $15,000 for or something. But It's not going to help you sell more, because when the prospect says hello, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to ask, if you don't know how to use your tonality to get them to let their guard down, all that personal development goes out the door very, very quickly. And your motivation and confidence that you got pumped up that morning goes back down to your skill level.
The first time they see that in action, they're just like, no effing way. No effing way. It's a different experience.
I love it, man. All right, everybody, thanks for being on today. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about NPQ, you want to start getting at least an overview, you're welcome to go get our Barnes & Noble bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller. Go to barnesandnoble.com, type in the new model of selling to an unsellable generation, with Jerry Acuff and I, co-author. That's a great book to start with. It's going to give you an overview of the new model of selling. And then you're welcome to join. We'll let you join one of our free Facebook groups, Sales Revolution. So there should be a link here to go to Sales Revolution. We've got about 120 some thousand salespeople in there, and you can ask questions. People are always glad to help. We got thousands of clients in there as well. Rowberry's in there too. So anyways, everybody, go ahead, Rowberry.
No, the world is getting full of less and less trust. If you don't get these skills, you'll be out of the game.
You just lose sales you could be making. That I know are clients that are in your industry. They're making those same sales every single day. So you just got to decide if you want to make those sales or if you want to lose them. And somebody that's trained by us will gladly make those
Or sales. Don't. Keep it from me. Don't. Whatever you do, don't.
Whatever you do, don't learn these skills. I don't want competition. All right, everybody. Thanks, Rowberry. Be on your
Of course.
legend.
Thank you so
Talk to
much.
everybody
Appreciate
soon.
it.
Anytime. See you soon, man.